Welcome to your practice and our final session of deserving. In this series, we've gone over what it feels like, what it can look like to deserve love. We've gone over compassion and nonviolence, and now we will be exploring deserving and receiving joy. So in this session today, you will need some blocks, a strap, some blankets. If you don't have a strap or you prefer not to use a strap, then you don't have to have one. There will be other options available if that's just not what you want to do today. So I'm here sitting on a block, and you could join me in this thunderbolt shape, this thunderbolt seat, or if this does not feel welcome to your body today, then I invite you to come into any seated shape or any shape of your choice, even if it's not seated, that feels welcome to you. And with that, we'll arrive and we'll begin to turn inward. And so if it's helpful for you to close your eyes, you might join me in doing so. You could always choose to leave your eyes open, perhaps allowing your eyes to soften, resting on a still, unmoving spot. And as you settle into the shape of your choice, you might take a moment to just scan the outline of your body. Starting to notice what kind of sensations are present for you. And then once you are complete with your body scan, you might shift your awareness to your breath. And we'll take just about 5 rounds of breath at your own pace. You might even bring your awareness into how your body is breathing. Not that there's any right or wrong, just keeping the focus inward, feeling your breath move in and out. And after your 5th breath, you might allow yourself to take a cleansing breath in and out, perhaps taking a big exhale out of your mouth. And I'd like to read to you a short poem by Mary Oliver called "Don't Hesitate." If you suddenly and unexpectedly feel joy, don't hesitate. Give in to it. There are plenty of lives and whole towns destroyed or about to be. We are not wise and not very often kind, and much can never be redeemed. Still, life has some possibility left. Perhaps this is its way of fighting back, that sometimes something happens better than all the riches or power in the world. It could be anything, but very likely you notice it in the instant when love begins. Anyway, that's often the case. Anyway, whatever it is, don't be afraid of its plenty. Joy is not made to be a crumb. Don't hesitate when you feel joy. Joy is not meant to be a crumb. I invite you to create an affirmation for yourself for this practice. Perhaps it's along the lines of receiving joy, or maybe it's something totally different, maybe something else that you need today. But I offer you this community affirmation, simple, and it is just, I welcome joy, or I allow myself to feel joy. So whichever affirmation sits well with you today, I invite you to take a breath in, settling it into your body. And when you decide you are ready for movement, you might begin to join me by taking some seated cat-cows. I'm going to turn just so that you can see me a little bit better. So with your next inhale, you might start to reach your arms up overhead, maybe allowing your spine to follow as you stretch up, taking the path of least resistance, allowing your stomach to come forward if you want. Just taking a stretch, exhaling out. Letting it go, maybe taking a shoulder roll. And then with your next inhale, breathing the arms up. And then with your exhale this time, dropping the elbows into cactus arms and maybe peeling your heart space forward. Again, path of least resistance, allowing your whole spine, stomach, chest to come forward as much as you want it to. And then as you exhale, like you're closing a book, bringing your hands together in front of you and hollowing out your heart, stretching the back of your heart. Inhale to open back up when you're ready. Exhale to close, curling inward, maybe even allowing your chin and your tailbone to come toward one another. Let's take 3 more rounds. Inhaling open. Exhaling closed. 2 more rounds at your own pace. You set the rhythm here. This is your practice, your body. What do you need today? Everything in this class is optional. Last round. Exhale. As you inhale back to center, you might release your arms, allowing any organic, intuitive movement to take place here. Maybe moving through your neck or your shoulders, perhaps your wrists. And then a little bit of some left and right brain hemisphere activation. We'll take our hands and place them on top of our shoulders. And then if you'd like, you could take a few elbow rolls. And then once you kind of feel a rhythm here, maybe you go in opposite directions. So one elbow goes back, one elbow goes forward. And if this feels like, what the heck, this is weird, my brain doesn't know what to do with this, that's okay. It might be helpful to start at stillness, go backwards with one elbow, and then slowly add in the second elbow, go forward with the second elbow. At any point that you'd like to switch directions, you can. We'll just be here for another breath or two, just giving our brain a little bit of playful activation. Okay, and it's very warming for the shoulders. It doesn't look like much, but my shoulders are quite warm. And once you feel complete there, if you have a block underneath you, you might move it to the side. Option to have a blanket underneath your knees if that feels supportive to you. And I'll meet you in a tabletop. Option here to just move organically. If your wrists would like a little bit of TLC, you might flip your fingertips back, one hand at a time, back toward you, stretching your forearm, maybe rocking forward and rocking back, switching your hands whenever you're ready to. One more breath here, doing whatever feels right. And if you feel complete here, because you could continue to spend more time here if you don't, but you could join me for a downward facing dog, or if down dog is not in your practice today, you might take a puppy pose or a child's pose. So I'll go in that order. Down dog, option number 1, is to tuck your toes, spread your fingers wide, and lift the hips. Maybe you keep your knees bent to start. Perhaps you pedal out your feet. If your hamstrings are feeling really tight, it might be helpful to take your feet as wide as your mat. The closer your feet are together, the bigger the stretch in your hamstrings will be. Option number 2, if down dog is like, nope, that's not my speed today, that's okay. Option number 2 is puppy pose, slightly engaging your core just to protect your lower back, and then walking your hands forward. This is kind of like a half down dog for the upper body. Walking your hands forward until you can release your forehead down toward the mat. It doesn't have to touch the mat, but it might. Option number 3 is to take your knees slightly wider than your hips. Your toes could touch back behind you as you sink your hips down toward the heels, and release your forehead to the mat for child's pose. Or maybe stack your fist or your hands if you prefer to keep your gaze lifted in child's pose. So 3 options, wherever you're at. Let's be there for the next 3 to 5 breaths, or as long as you want to. How can you welcome more joy into your practice today? For me, it's adding and allowing a little bit more curiosity and less rigidity. Allowing myself to do what feels welcome to my body instead of what I think I should do. Maybe it's similar for you, maybe it's something different. But how can you welcome joy into your practice today? After your 3rd breath, if you are in puppy pose or child's pose and you feel complete, you might come into a tabletop shape. And then if you're ready to find a low lunge on the right side, option to extend your right leg. If you're in down dog, you might take a 3-legged dog. And then exhale, wherever you are, you might begin to bring your right leg forward, planting your right foot and allowing your left knee to come down to the earth so that we come into a low lunge. This is a great place to have your blocks, to bring the floor to you as we give our body a second to open up. And finding stillness here might make it more intense. And so if that's not something that you want to explore right now, you could add some movement. Maybe kind of moving the hips side to side, or Gently backing up out of the lunge and then slowly sinking back in. There's no rule saying that you have to do anything in a particular way. As always, I invite you to feel your body and make decisions based on what you need and what you are experiencing in this moment. We'll take one more breath here in the slow lunge, and then we'll add on top of it. So you could choose to stay right here. This is a great place to be. Option number 2 is to take your left hand, plant it either on your block or the floor, and then you might start to peel your right shoulder back, peel your right ribs back as you place your right hand on your right knee, just to stabilize you in this twist. Here's option number 2. Option number 3 is to draw your left foot toward you. Maybe this is where you stay. Or if it's helpful, you might reach back for your left foot with your right hand. So you're still in this twist, but right hand can be on your right knee, or right hand can be holding your left foot. Lots of layers here. You can choose the layer that works for you. And we'll be here for just another 2 rounds of breath. Can you feel into your body? One more breath. If you feel complete, you might release your left foot, release the twist, come back. Sending the hips back, sending your right foot back if you're ready for it. And then here, you could either use your blocks. I'm going to use my blocks. Or if you don't have blocks, your hands could just be on the floor. We're going to take a little modified vinyasa. So inhaling, coming, so knees on the floor. Or you could take a high plank. So high plank option 1, low plank, knees on the floor is option 2. I'm going to go knees to the mat. Coming into a plank position, blocks or no blocks, your choice. And then lowering down. And then maybe you inhale, roll your shoulders back, lengthen through the arms for a version of upward facing dog with the blocks. And then sending your hips back, option to take a child's pose, or maybe you tuck the toes and take a downward facing dog. Again, blocks or no blocks. It's the same movement, just a matter of if you're a little bit more lifted from the floor or not. There's no right or wrong here. And then if you are ready, if you're in child's pose, you might come forward into a tabletop. If you're in puppy pose, same thing, tabletop. If you're ready to move on. If not, you can stay where you are for as long as you like. Option to extend your left leg and big exhale out. Bring your left foot forward and your right knee to the mat. As we come into a low lunge on our left side, making any adjustments that you need. Take some time to set up the shape to meet your body. The shape is meant to meet you. Your body is not meant to meet the demands of the shape, which is basically saying alter the shape to your needs. You don't have to force yourself to contort into a shape that your body might not be ready for. We can alter the shape to suit our needs in this moment. So blocks, no blocks, blanket, whatever you need here. We'll take just another 2 breaths. And option 1 is to stay right here in your lunge. Option 2 is to plant your right hand, peel your left shoulder back, your left ribs, left hand to your left knee, or kick up your right foot, reach back with your left hand. You choose 3 options here. And if your left hand is on the inside of your foot, you might notice what's going on with your left shoulder. Option to explore taking your hand to the outside of your right foot and notice what that does for your left shoulder. If it feels a bit more open, or if you don't prefer it, that's okay. Last inhale and exhale here. Releasing whenever you decide to. I'll meet you back at center. Sending our left foot back. And I'll show the version of a vinyasa without the blocks this time, just in case there's anybody that wants to see that. So hands can come down to the mat. Again, you have the choice of a high plank, knees lifted, or knees to the mat. As we exhale, lower all the way down. Inhale, pressing your hands into the floor, lifting through the heart space for a cobra or an upward facing dog. And then an exhale to shift yourself back. Again, you have those 3 options: child's pose, puppy pose, downward facing dog. I invite you to take 2 to 3 conscious breaths wherever you choose to be. One more breath. And if you're ready to move forward, you might begin to take your gaze to the top of your mat and start to step your feet forward. I'll meet you in a forward fold whenever you get there. Option 2, take your feet as wide as the mat if you'd like a little bit more space. Maybe your feet are hip distance apart if that's what you prefer. And you could add a bend here into your knees. Your knees don't have to be locked out if that's feeling like a really big sensation. You can soften the knees if you need to. I definitely prefer to do that for my body. And with your next inhale, option to bring your hands to your shins or the tops of your quads to find a halfway lift. And an exhale to fold. With your next breath in, or when you decide to, you might begin to root down into your feet and reach all the way up, coming up to a standing. Option 2, move through your shoulders, move through your hands, feel into your feet. I like to take this opportunity to really stretch my toes out, allow my feet to take up all the space that they want. Adjusting your stance so that you feel stable. And then taking a pause. You might release your hands down to your sides, or option to place one hand over your heart, one over your abdomen. When you feel joy, don't hesitate. Joy is not meant to be a crumb. You are deserving of joy. Option to bring your affirmation to the front of your mind. Perhaps it was one of the community affirmations. I welcome joy. I allow myself to feel joy. If you have a blanket on your mat, you might move it to the side for this next section of our sequence. And rooting down into your feet, you might even have a wall nearby if you'd like a little bit more stability. So rooting down into your feet, shifting the weight from left to right. And then the next time your weight is over on your left side, you might begin to bring your right toes to the floor. Finding your balance, maybe a hand to the wall, if that feels supportive. Here's option 1. Option 2 is to swim your right foot back, reaching for it with your right hand. So taking a similar quad stretch that we were just doing in low lunge, taking a breath. Exhaling out. And then with your next inhale, or when you decide to, you might release your right foot, step your right foot back, and find a high crescent lunge. So that means we're on the ball of our right foot, and we're lunging into our front leg. In this case, it's my left leg. And then instead of keeping your right leg straight, you could do that if you wanted to, but you might check in with your lower back and notice, is it more supportive for me to bend into my back knee or to keep my back knee straight? So there is no right or wrong. You can just choose where you want to be. And if being in a high crescent lunge is really not where your body prefers to be right now, you could always take this low lunge again that we did at the beginning of class. So you have choices here. High lunge, low lunge. Option 2, inhale, then reach your arms up. Maybe you pause here. Option 2, reverse your crescent lunge by, if your right foot is back, it'll be your left hand that reaches back for your right leg. Reaching up through the right arm, taking a conscious inhale here. And then as you exhale, bringing both hands down to the earth. And we'll take a fallen triangle here. So we haven't really done this shape before. So hands are rooted to the mat. Your right leg, your right foot is connected to the earth. And we're gonna kick out our left leg. I think my foot is out of the frame, so I'm gonna move. So kick out your left leg so that the blade of your left foot is on the mat. Left hand is connected to the earth. You could keep both hands connected, or if you want, you could peel your right shoulder up, reach it up towards the sky. Taking one more conscious inhale and exhale. And then releasing your right hand back down to the earth, stepping your left foot back. Option 2, keep your knees hovering or bring them down to the earth. You choose. And then lowering down all the way to your front body. With your inhale, you might press into your hands. Lift your heart space for cobra, only coming up as far as you want. And then an exhale to roll yourself back. 3 choices here: child's pose, puppy pose, down dog. 3 breaths wherever you are. If you are ready to continue, you might start to inhale, lift your head up. If you are in Child's pose, you might start to shift yourself forward and start to walk your feet forward to the front of your mat. I'll meet you back in a forward fold. Making any adjustments to your stance that you need to. Inhaling for your halfway lift with your next inhale. Letting go into a fold with your exhale. When you're ready to rise, I'll meet you there, inhaling up. And taking a pause at the top. Option to have your hands however you like, down at your sides, hands at heart center, maybe one hand over your heart and then stomach, you choose. 2 more breaths here, just noticing how you feel. Last one. If you're ready for the next side, you might begin to send your awareness back down into your feet, shifting your weight, allowing your toes to spread. When your weight is in your right foot, option 1 is to bring your left big toe to the earth, to the floor. And again, you can have the wall in front of you for that support if you would like to have it. And option 2 is to swim your left foot back, grabbing onto your left foot with your left hand, breathing here for another 2 rounds of breath. If you feel wobbly or off balance, that's okay. That's completely normal. It's welcome. The wobbles are welcome. After your second breath, if you're ready to release your foot, you could let go and step your left foot back. And again here, finding a high crescent lunge or maybe dropping your left knee if you prefer the low lunge. You choose. You could have your back leg straight or you could bend into your left knee if you prefer. Option to inhale your arms up if that's something you'd like to explore. And you could stay here, or if your left leg is back like mine is, it'll be your right hand that swims back, connecting with the back of your left leg if you want to reverse your crescent lunge. Taking a conscious breath in at your own pace. And then an exhale to bring both hands to the floor. Option to take the fallen triangle pose or skip it if that's not something you want to explore. So both hands to the mat. Right foot or front foot goes out to the side. So my right foot would go to the left. You could keep both hands connected to the mat, or you could peel your left shoulder and ribs back. Reaching up for the sky. Breathing here. One more breath. And an exhale to lower down. Your right foot could go back to meet your left. High or low plank. As we exhale down to the earth. Inhale for a cobra if you want to take it. And an exhale to send yourself back for child's pose, puppy pose, or down dog. 3 breaths wherever you choose to be. We've been working toward a peak pose, which is dancer pose. I think it's called I think the full name is King Dancer. But dancer pose. And When we come back up to standing, we'll need our strap if you choose to work with one. If not, I have another option. So if you're ready, you could begin to lift your head, shift yourself forward, and I'll meet you in a forward fold, walking your feet forward to meet your hands. Finding your halfway lift when you're ready for it. And exhale to fold. Inhale to rise. And exhale. Hands come down. Okay. So I'll show you the option with the strap, and then I'll show you the option without the strap. And again, you don't need to do anything that you don't want to do. Everything here is optional. So however you approach this next shape, I invite you to do so with curiosity and inviting joy into your practice. And if it doesn't bring you joy, I encourage you to give yourself permission to let it go. Having the wall within reaching distance of one hand would be helpful if you feel like you want that. So taking your strap, one part of it in each hand, back behind you, rooting down into your feet. Let's start with our right foot. So shifting your weight back and forth. And then the next time your weight is on your left foot, you could go ahead and bring your right big toe to the floor. And then you could pick up your right foot and loop the strap over the top of your foot, just like so. And then we'll start to bring our elbows together. Now, couple options here. You could stay right where we were here just a moment ago. So instead of your right hand reaching back for your foot, you can just have the strap back there and a nice opening happening through your chest, through your heart center. Okay, so you can stop anywhere you want. This is a good place. Or you could start to walk your hands up the strap. You could allow your hips to come forward a little bit if you want. And option 2, notice your elbows here, keeping them tucked in and close so that the stretch is happening through your quad instead of through your arms so much. Although I'm definitely feeling a stretch through my arms, even keeping my elbows tucked in close. So here's option 1. Option 2, if you don't have a strap, is to reach back for your right foot and just using your arms reaching forward, maybe having one arm extended, maybe holding onto the wall. So lots of choices. If you've already been holding your pose for a minute and you're ready to come out, please do so. If you'd like to, if you're just now getting into it, we'll go ahead and take another 4 rounds of breath here. Three more breaths, 2 to 3. Whoa, I'm wobbly today. And release whenever you're ready. Shake it out. Maybe move through your right leg. Shake out your right leg. And then we'll take it on the other side. So if you know which one you want to do on the other side, you could start to set up for that. And before jumping into it, find your stance that works for you. Allowing your toes to spread, shifting your weight. And then when your weight is in the right side, whichever side was opposite, you could start to pick up your left foot, choosing for yourself which version of this pose you want to be in. And once you're set up, taking another 3 to 4 breaths here. Ooh. If you fall out of it, that's okay. It's perfectly okay to be human. And then whenever you feel complete and ready to release, you could let go. Come back to standing. Shaking out your leg if you want. Moving through your shoulders. Option 2, bring your hand to your heart and your hand to your abdomen, or maybe hands anywhere else that you prefer. Taking another 3 rounds of breath to just zero in on what you're feeling in your body right now. I hope that dancer pose was an opportunity of bringing curiosity into your practice and joy instead of rigidity. And that as we finish out our practice here in the next few minutes, that you are able to continue to bring that presence of joy to the remainder of your practice, and even when practice is complete. Whenever you're ready, you might begin to inhale the arms up. Exhale, folding down for our last forward fold, and halfway lift of our class, taking your lift whenever you're ready for it. Exhaling to release. Hands to the mat. You could step one foot back and then the other as we lower ourselves all the way down. Actually, if you are on a hardwood floor like I am, it might feel welcome to have a blanket underneath you. I'm going to open my blanket up quite a bit so that I'm on more of a level ground. And we'll be taking half frog pose. So couple choices here. Option 1 is you lower yourself down, having your blanket out underneath you. Maybe your forearm underneath your forehead. And then I'm going to start with my right leg, but it really doesn't matter which one you start with. It's your choice. And then you could bring your right knee up, creating somewhat of a 90-degree angle, but it doesn't have to be exact. So that 90-degree angle could look like your right knee being in alignment with your hip, your ankle being underneath your knee. But if that doesn't serve you, if that it's just not working out today, that's fine. Not a big deal. You can just bring your knee up as you wish. And here, if this shape feels really awesome and you're like, cool, I'm happy here, this is a great place to be. If this shape needs a little bit more support, here's some ways that you could do that. 1, you could bring a second blanket and drape it over you so that you have a little bit of covering. Sometimes we just need a little bit more support. So you could find yourself just like that if you want. Another option is if your right knee would like to be a little bit more lifted up off of the mat, you could take a third blanket and fold it up, place it underneath your right knee. And that would be to increase the sensation in your right hip. So that could look like I guess you could also use a bolster, but that might be a little bit tall. So that could look like this. So set up how you would like to. And we'll be here for another 5 rounds of breath. For the remainder of your breaths, you might notice your front body, your abdomen, your stomach, your chest, your ribs, connected to the earth beneath you. As you breathe in, you might notice that your front body presses into your floor, the mat. As you exhale, you might notice a rebounding, a softening. And when you feel complete here, you could switch sides, and if you don't feel complete, please give yourself permission to stay here as long as you want to. I'm going to switch sides. I'm going to move the blanket over to my other side, and so however you want to set up, please do so. And we'll take another 5 to 6 breaths on this side. Starting to find completion on this side, or staying longer if that's what your body wants. And whenever you do decide that you're ready to extend your right leg down, you might begin to stay, or you could stay resting on your stomach if that is a great place for your body to rest, if that's where you want to be, or if at any point you want to roll over onto your back. You might start to bring your knees in toward your chest, maybe rocking from side to side. And then releasing your knees whenever you desire. And setting up for your Savasana, your final resting time. You might drape a blanket over you. You might keep your feet planted on the floor if that's helpful for your lower back. Or maybe putting a bolster underneath your knees or a rolled up blanket and extending your legs out. If resting on your back is not welcome, you could choose to rest in any other way, perhaps in a seated shape, maybe with your back to the wall or some piece of furniture that would allow you to rest a little bit more. And again, you could stay on your stomach if that feels supportive. And when you feel joy, don't hesitate. Don't question it, just receive it. Joy is not meant to be a crumb. And we'll be here for the next minute or so. Just know that even though I'm quiet, I'm still here with you. And even as this class comes to a close, you can stay in this resting place for as long as you want to. There's no rush. This is your practice, and you get to choose. Continue resting until you decide that you feel complete. My hope for you is that you feel safe, connected, and at home in your body. Thank you for practicing with me today.